Šta se dešava u Nemačkoj, zašto nas Nemci ne vole, da li možemo da popravimo taj odnos? Ove odgovore ćemo da dobijemo od poslanika AFD-a, Petera Bistrona, još mnogo toga. Hoće li biti rata Tajvana, Kine i Amerike i koji nam mrak spremaju mračni vladari iz Davosa. Davos je počeo danas, da vas podsjetim. Više o ovome, vrlo brzo. Ne mrze svi Nemci Srbe. Jedan takav je danas kod mene. Danas je moj gost poslanik Bundestaga, inače član AFD-a, gospodin Peter Bistron. Dobar dan.
Hristos se rodi, srećan Božić, Marija.
Vaistinu se rodi. Thank you so much for coming here. I guess so you understand a little bit of Serbian. You did understand my introduction. I actually said that not all Germans hate Serbs. Now, throughout the history, we did have some serious troubles with Germany all the time. Why is that, by your opinion?
Well, difficult question, because Serbs are such a pleasant nation, and I really don't understand why we have those problems today. Because, in fact, between the people, there is no problem. So, if we are looking for the problems, we have to search for them in the higher politics, maybe in the geopolitical situation, maybe on pressure of some other states, and then we will find a solution, yeah.
But you as a politician, you don't have problem with Serbs. Why did you come to Serbia?
Of course, we don't have problems with Serbs. On contrary, we have a lot of Serbian voters who are really engaged with their hearts for the AFD. We have a lot of restaurants who are hosting our meetings. So my own group in Munich is always meeting in a Serbian restaurant. We have
with Serbian cuisine?
Yes. A Croatian restaurant, so it's fabulous.
As I mentioned in the introduction, you're a member of the AFD party, which is like almost like an outcast in German political life. Why is that? Why do they pronounce you like an extremist right-wing party, almost a Nazi party? Who is afraid of AFD?
Yeah, everybody is afraid of AFD because we are the most successful party. We are the youngest and most successful party since the Second World War. And we gained all the state parliament. We went into the Bundestag 2 times after each other. We are in the European Parliament. And in each of those parliaments, we are taking places which were formerly occupied by the other parties. So they are afraid of us and they are trying to stop us by any meaning. Normally, they should have the political controversy with us, but they don't want because we have the better arguments, we have the better educated people, so they are trying to avoid the discussion with us, and they always just trying to put us in some corner so that nobody is touching us, nobody is speaking to us, the people are afraid of us. And they already have done such a politics with 2 other parties in the 80s, with the with the Republicans, and they destroyed them totally, and in the 90s, 2000, with Bund Freier Bürger. So they know that it works. So they were trying to apply the same on us, but it doesn't work with us.
They actually passed a resolution, all the major parties in Germany, stating that they are not going to collaborate with your party. Why is that?
Yeah, sure. This is the logical further step, like to say voters don't give them your votes because nobody is going to make a coalition with them anyway. So it's senseless you losing your votes. But that's not true. The next elections will be in Saxony and in Thuringia. We are the #1 in those 2 states. We are the strongest party. And the second is the conservative CDU. And already now, those deputies in those states, in the CDU, they want to do a coalition with us. So let's wait after the elections and we will see how things will develop.
What's your percentage in the popular voters poll, approximately?
It's a different on which state. So in those 2 states, we are over 30, 31, 32. But we are also more, we gain more and more percent every day. So now we had election in Bavaria, We are the opposition leader there, you know. So we are about 20% in the Western countries and over 30% in the Eastern countries.
So you predict you're going to come to power, right?
Sure, it's just a question of time.
And what's going to change in Germany when you come to power, especially towards the Balkans and Serbia?
I wanted to say everything will change. For first, we are going to reform the public television because it's a big propaganda institution in Germany.
Like censorship or what kind of propaganda?
Well, censorship, if you say censorship, people have some picture in their heads that there is somebody sitting and scratching things or cutting out, you know, what you may say, what not. It is a censorship, but this is working in a different way. It's more about like, what are we not going to show? Mm-hmm. This is a kind of censorship. You know, we had been the strongest opposition party in the parliament for 4 years, and we were not displayed on the public television at all. You know, I'm the foreign policy speaker. They never asked me to some issues like Kosovo or other crises. You know, no one. You know, so. No,
because it's not aligned with the mainstream politics?
Exactly, because we are criticizing what the mainstream wants, what the globalist parties want. So this is exactly what we are now asking. So what is going to...
And you are against globalists?
Sure. This is the current division of a political spectrum. We don't have this left-right on the paper, only on the paper. But if you look, who is the German coalition now? The liberals, formerly right-center, predicted that they are civic and liberal. They doing coalition with left-extreme pedophile Greens. If the left-right spectrum would work, they could never be in the same coalition, but they are.
So what's the thing that connected them?
Yeah, look, I would say the people who are behind them, who are paying them, who are selecting those people who are now in government. The Greens are the best example for that.
And who is paying them? Who is actually ruling Germany?
Yeah, let me explain just how the Greens come to power. 1 year before election, NGO paid from abroad organized demonstration on streets, Fridays for Future. Mm-hmm. So there were demonstrations in every city by kids. The kids got free from school in spite of they should be in school, but they went to the demonstration every Friday. So it created like a demand for solutions in this field. And they said, oh, there is a catastrophe, climate catastrophe. So the people automatically were speaking, all the media were displaying just this demonstration, inviting green politicians to political shows. The most invited politicians in the big television shows in Germany in that year, before election, were Robert Habeck, head of the Greens, and Annalena Baerbock, the co-head of the Greens. So both Greens, in spite of the fact that the Greens were the smallest party in the German parliament at that time. So this was over-proportional exposure of the Greens. There was a creating demand for a pseudo-problem. So everybody was talking about that.
Because they created the problem.
Yes, they created their problem, where the people automatically think that the solution can be done by Green Party. If they would create the same with the migrant crisis, which we effectively have, if they would report about all the problems about the migrant party, we would have 35% because everybody would say, okay, only AFD can solve those problems. But this is here the circle closed. This is how the media are manipulating. You say censorship, I say manipulation. They are not displaying the real problems. They are not discussing about the real problems, but they are creating like bubbles and creating problems to move the attention of the people to somewhere else. And this way, the Greens were kind of winner of the election. They got they doubled their previous results. They come into government together with the socialists, and now they have the key resorts.
It's funny because what you have described right now sounds a little bit like a soft-colored revolution.
Sure.
Was that what actually happened in Germany?
This is running all the time.
And running by whom? By America?
Sure. There are...
Who actually implemented Greens in Germany? Who is behind them?
Let's look behind them, who is financing them. And it was even published now because they implemented some laws like prohibiting normal heatings in every house and flats and forcing the people to change the normal heating and something different. So, and it come out that there are just two companies which are profiting from these changes because you have to buy their equipment. You know, that there are some billionaires from the USA who previously invested in those companies who supported the Greens. So you support the party and then you cash afterwards.
Moja koleginica Jadranka Jeftić je gore na galeriji, ima gosta. Sa njom je Žarko Rakić, bivši glavni urednik Politike, novinar i spoljnopolitički komentator. Jadranka, jel se čujemo?
Dobro veče, čujemo se.
Imamo li pitanje neko za tvog gosta, pardon?
Za naše gosta, naravno. Gospodine Rakiću, dobro veče.
Dobro veče.
Mislite li da će stranka AFD na sledećim izborima osvojiti vlast?
Pa vidite, to je na prvi pogled veoma teško pitanje. Znate, ta stranka, ako prevedemo njeno ime, je alternativa za Nemačku i ona u ovom trenutku stvarno nudi neku alternativu za dosadašnju nemačku politiku i mislim da bi moglo da se definiše da su oni nekako nemački format takozvani suverenista, odnosno stranka koja na prvom mjestu stavlja svoju državu i njene interese, a sve drugo je na nekom, tako, 3., 4., 5., 6. mjestu. Pitanje je da li mogu da dođu vlast. Pa mislim da u ovom trenutku je za njih još rano, ali se plašim da bi oni mogli, na primjer, da dožive sudbinu radikala u Srbiji. Da budu možda najjača stranka u parlamentarnom životu Nemačke, da budu najjača snaga u Bundestagu, u parlamentu, ali da trenutno nemaju koalicioni kapacitet, odnosno niko, barem trenutna je takva situacija, ne želi da s njima uđe u koaliciju. A i nova vlada u Nemačkoj će biti sigurno nekog koalicijnog tipa, ali postoji još jedna mnogo veća opasnost za njih, a to je da budu zabranjeni, odnosno da njihovo političko delovanje bude zabranjeno. O tome već postoje različite inicijative. To može da uradi Ustavni sud Nemačke zbog ekstremizma, tako po znacima navoda, ako možemo tako da kažemo. Jer u svim medijskim opisima za njih kažu da su ekstremno desna politička stranka, ali ja onda da se zapitam, kad pogledamo njihove osnovne ciljeve, prvi cilj, da Nemačka izađe iz Evropske unije. Drugi cilj, da Nemačka napusti NATO. Treći cilj, da obnovi odnose sa svima, pre svega sa Ruskom federacijom, kako bi sačuvala svoj ekonomski integritet, odnosno kako bi sačuvala svoj postignuti stepen ekonomskog razvoja. Tako, ako su to ekstremni stavovi, onda stvarno se suočavamo sa problemom da definišemo taj ekstremizam.
Onda, da li bi njihov dolazak na vlast zapravo ne bi bio dobar za Srbiju, po vama?
Pa bio bi dobar, zato što bi oni prestali da se na ovako agresivan način bave zbivanjima u komšiluku, odnosno u svetu, nego bi se posvetili pre svega sređivanju situacije u samoj Nemačkoj. Nisam siguran da bi bili mnogo gori od ovih koji su posljednjih decenija na vlasti u Nemačkoj, zato što je skoro i nemoguće da budete tako loši i gori po Srbiju kada je reč o nemačkoj spoljnoj politici. Pri tome moramo da razumemo da tu postoji određeni kontinuitet, da se sve vlade menjale, da su se menjale politički obojene vlade i kancelari, ali da taj strateški interes Nemačke za ovaj deo Balkana nikada nije jenjavao, da nikada nije pao i da su oni u tom smislu dosledno sprovodili svoju, pa mogu da kažem, ekspanzionističku politiku prema ovom delu Evrope.
Marija?
Pitanja. Prvo, da li mislite da je moguća saradnja Srbije sa AFD-om, s obzirom na to da imaju taj suverenistički koncept, kako ste vi to rekli, to je otprilike pravac koji i mi sledimo. I drugo pitanje je, da li ste vi znali za ovaj podatak da je u Nemačkoj praktično izvedena tiha obojena revolucija sa ovim implementiranjem, odnosno ugrađivanjem zelenih u vlast?
Pa dobro, ali sve ove revolucije koje smo bili svedoci imali su neke druge boje. Nikada nisu bili zeleni kao što su to u Nemačkoj, ali znate kako? Srbija već ima odlične odnose sa jednom državom koja je potpuno suverena, tako, to je Mađarska.
Zato vas i pitam to, da.
Da, znači ako imate dobru državu, odnosno državu koja brine o svojim građanima, lakše ćete naći zajednički jezik sa drugom državom koja se isto tako ponaša, odnosno ne vodi više računa o onome što se dešava u njenom komšiluku ili u svetu, nego brine o dobrobiti svojih građana. Tako da tu lakše je, mislim, pronaći zajednički interes nego kad imate nekoga ko je ekstremno nasilan, odnosno koji je uporan u tome da kreira situaciju na Balkanu onako kako su oni to davno zamislili. Tako da, naravno, mislim da bi saradnja bila mnogo jednostavnija, da bi bila mnogo uspešnija, ali kažem, sumnjam da postoji trenutno realne šanse da alternativa za Nemačku dođe na vlast.
Da se prisjetimo samo da su nas baš zeleni bombardovali, Joška Fišer je bio zelen, je li tako?
Pa dobro, ja moram da stalno to spominjem. Gospodin Fišer ima divno ime, on se zove Jozef, za prijatelj možda Joška, za nama nikada nije bio prijatelj. On je jedan čudan politički lik koji je od jednog propalog studenta i čovjeka koji je bio pravi uličar, odnosno tukao se sa policijom u Frankfurtu i drugim gradima Nemačkoj, koji je postao ministar inostranih poslova i onda je pokušao da pacifizam koji je bio u temelju zelenih, je li tako, znamo šta znači zeleni, da ih pretvore u zelene jastrebove, što se danas vidi, znači to je nastavljeno u jednom najoguljenijem smislu, tako da zeleni danas su najekstremnija politička stranka u Nemačkoj kada govorimo o spoljnoj politici države Nemačke.
Bilo, ne povratilo se. Nastavljamo dalje. Idemo da vidimo šta je još rekao Petar Bistron.
We had a serious political crisis here in Serbia after the elections. And our government, not in so many words, but it did actually accuse German establishment to be behind the crisis in Serbia in order to make an extra pressure on Serbia to recognize Kosovo and to impose sanctions on Russia. Do you believe that to be possible?
Well, first, I would question if your crisis is real and if it's serious. Let's see how Mr. Vučić won the elections. Great victory in the election. He has more than double the votes as the nearest opposition party.
It's a clean victory.
Of course, this is so clean. You know, it's not about 0.5% or 1% or 2%. No, it's, you would say, haushoch. You know, he won. There's no doubt. So let's see who is trying to discredit this really good result. And then you are at the opposition and you have to see who is financing them, which NGOs are supporting them, who is trying from abroad to create the impression that there is a crisis. It's the same like in other countries. You know, look at the USA. Donald Trump won the election and he is a populist again. Globalist populist. He is a populist, he won the election. The globalists immediately started questioning, was the election legal? He did not really win, you know, because whatever. The same with Brexit. You know, it was the most democratic thing you can do. Ask the people what they want. So the British people say, we want to leave the European Union. And what started immediately after the decision? This is not democratic. Only the stupid old did vote for leaving the European. The bright, intelligent young people, they were at parties somewhere, you know, they had no time on Sunday, whatever.
It's the same pattern.
Yes, it's the same pattern everywhere. Discredit the results and try to say they are not legal, they are not legitimate, and the true democratic powers will come, you know, to power next time.
Like Greens in Germany.
Like Greens in Germany. Yes.
Unfortunately, I mean, it's not funny, but we in the same time have serious conflicts in Kosovo. It's a more political crisis that can escalate at one point into direct conflicts. How do you see the situation in Kosovo? Who is turning up from abroad the Kosovo crisis?
Yeah, this is a serious task because look what happened in Kosovo. It was the U.S. bombed Serbia, USA together, even with Germany, with Great Britain. They were violating international law. It's illegal. The territorial integrity of Serbia was destroyed. So they took a part of it and they are trying to create a state there, you know. And in spite of that, I'm not calling it a state, so this Kosovo, so-called, was not recognized by superpowers like China, like Russia. It was even not recognized by Spain or Slovakia, so countries which are in the European Union. And in spite of those facts, they are still trying to continue in their agenda. So and their agenda is to fix the status quo, you know, and to treat Kosovo as an independent state, to put it in international organization, and so on and so on. Of whose interest it is, look at this. The second biggest military bases in Europe is where? It's in Kosovo. And the biggest is in Germany. So it's a clear answer that this is in the U.S. interest to keep it like it is.
So we both Germany and Serbia have a part of territory that's under U.S. occupation, actually.
Ours is smaller.
And you're larger.
We are not allowed to say that we are occupied country.
I'm allowed to say
yeah,
so.
We are not.
You can just nod. It would be enough.
Our party leader, Tino Krupala, he says it quite clearly. He always says, look, we have occupation armies still on our soil, on our ground. And I myself, I'm really questioning, like, for what reason? Look at the history, okay. There was a Soviet Union, a communist threat. Sure, I am an immigrant, I fled from communists, so I'm the first to say, okay, we have to stop communists. So, and I say, thank you, USA, that you have been with your army in Europe and you stopped the communists, you stopped Stalin.
But it's enough.
After 1990, when the Soviet Union disappeared and all the Red Army went back to Russia, the occupation ended. So there was nobody we should be defended from. So the Americans could say, okay, now it's peace, we won, we defeated the communists, we can go home. But they stayed. Why?
Why?
Yeah, why?
I ask you why.
They're protecting us, they are our friends, so they... But I don't know...
That's how you call it now.
Yeah, exactly. We get protection against North Korea and Iran.
Good for you. Now you're safe.
But now, finally, we know, because now Russians are our enemy again, so they're protecting us against Russia.
But when you come to power, are you going to ask kindly the US troops to leave Germany? That's one question. And the second question, are you going to once again file initiative for withdrawal of Kosovo independence?
I think this is quite clear from our program that we want a strong, independent Germany. We are strengthening our sovereignty. And, that would be one of the ideas we have to discuss. If we need protection of foreign countries, if we need foreign troops of our soil, so how will we organize our defense? And,
but that would actually mean the end of NATO. Are you aware of that?
You think so?
I think so. If you deploy them from the largest base in Europe, isn't that the end?
Well, NATO is a North Atlantic Treaty Organization, so it was, again, a defense of some space, and now it's developing in a completely different direction. NATO is enlarging, NATO is trying to do even actions in Southern Pacifics. So in the moment, I see totally the totally opposite development.
And how about Kosovo?
Well, again, Kosovo, we are arguing that we should stop all the double standards, and we should do a lot of conferences to discuss the case of Ukraine war and Kosovo together, because it's the same but treated completely different. And either we say, okay, what Russia has done in Ukraine, it's unlawful and we are criticizing it, but then we have to criticize also the USA and Great Britain and Germany for what they have done in Yugoslavia. And if you put Vladimir Putin to Den Haag, you must go and put also Bill Clinton to Den Haag, okay.
But it's not going to happen.
And if you are not doing it with Bill Clinton, you cannot ask the other nations to do the same with Vladimir Putin.
Mm-hmm. But are you going to ask for the withdrawal of the Kosovo independence admission?
Well, we already did this application, but it didn't pass into the parliament. So again, this is very hardly defeated by the globalists. They absolutely don't want this issue on the political agenda, on the daily political agenda. So it will be really a hard parliamentarian fight inside of the Bundestag.
Gospodine Rakiću, mislite li da je moguća promjena evropske politike prema Kosovu?
Da ste me to pitali pre 10 godina, rekao bi apsolutno nemoguće da se tako nešto i pomisli, a kamoli da se desi. Danas je međutim situacija, kad gledamo geopolitičko stanje naše planete, sasvim drugačija i mislim da je ta promjena moguća, a ona može da bude zbog nekoliko razloga. Jedan je što mislim da će se nastaviti tendencije rastakanja Evropske unije. Mislim da će putem Velike Britanije veoma brzo, na primjer, krenuti Holandija ili još neke države. A ono što bi moglo da ima presudan uticaj na opstanak Evropske unije, to je rezultat predsjedničkih izbora u Sjedinjenim Američkim Državama. Ako se dogodi da demokrate izgube na tim izborima, odnosno da dođe neko drugi na vlast, najverovatnije bi to bio gospodin Trump, onda zaista ni Evropska unija, ni NATO nemaju neku veliku perspektivu za opstanak, što znači da bi se stvorili uslovi da se promeni politika Evrope, znači ne Evropske unije, nego Evrope prema Srbiji. Znate, gospodin Trump je svojevremeno izjavio da Nemačka duguje 400 milijardi evra Sjedinjenim Američkim Državama za odbranu, odnosno za usluge koje su oni davali, da ne bi trošila novac tako na svoju armiju. Znate, suma od 400 milijardi evra je velika čak i za bogatu Nemačku. Tako da će se Nemačka naći pod jakim udarima i vidjet ćemo u kom pravcu bi sve to moglo da ide, ali kažem, sve što će se događati moglo bi da bude veoma pozitivno za Srbiju, ali do tog trenutka treba izdržati. I poznato je da ovi najveći, odnosno najmoćniji, nikada ne žele da priznaju grešku, a kamoli da tu grešku isprave. Tako da ne treba se previše nadamo, ali kažem, sve što se događa ide na ruku zaključku da bi moglo da dođe neko povoljnije vreme i da počnu da duvaju neki povoljniji evropski vetrovi prema Srbiji.
Postoje li sličnosti u pokušaju diskreditacije Vučića sa jedne i Trumpa sa druge strane?
Pa naravno da postoje. Znači, već i ovaj naš sagovornik govorio o globalistima koji ne žele da vide takve lidere, ne samo zato što su oni na putu, nego ostvarenje njihove politike, nego pre svega zbog toga što oni mogu da budu primer za neke druge. Znate, veoma je opasno kad imate takve državnike koji su na vlasti i naravno da onda veći deo sveta gleda i kaže, pa čekajte, možemo mi da se ugledamo onda, posebno ako Sjedinjene Američke Države pod novim predsjednikom se okrenu malo više sebi, kao i što Alternativa za Nemačku kaže za Nemačku, i počnu da rešavaju svoje američke probleme i prestanu da se igraju onog svetskog policajca, tako što su veoma rado činili posljednjih decenija prošlog veka. Tako da imamo zaista jednu situaciju u kojoj suvereni lideri, odnosno lideri koji su izabrani, odnosno koji su dobili tako mandat na izborima, su na veoma snažnom udaru globalista koji misle da je to jedna igrarija. Demokratija važi samo kada se tako traži od drugih, a kada u domaćem dvorištu trebate da nešto uradite demokratski, onda je to već teško pitanje. Onda je to miješanje unutrašnje stvari, onda je to ekstremizam, kao što sad govori nemačka vlada, pre svega gospodin Scholz za ove demonstrante, da su ekstremisti. Primite, molite, ako je 100.000 ili 200.000 nemačkih poljoprivrednika, seljaka, ako su oni ekstremisti, onda stvarno moramo da menjamo političku terminologiju i da učimo neki novi uvod u politiku.
Ali, gospodine Rakiću, htela sam ja od ozdo iz studija nešto da vas pitam. Jeste li primetili kada je Peter Bistron rekao, kaže, meni nije dozvoljeno da kažem da smo pod nemačkom okupacijom. Jel vas iznenađuje da toliko mora da bude obazriv u političkim izjavama? Jer mi svi mislimo u Nemačkoj vlada politička sloboda, to prštio demokratije tamo. Kada, eto, samo da vam kažem, posle intervjua mi je rekao, kaže, rizikujem zatvor zbog vašeg intervjua.
Pa dobro, mislim, sad Nemačka je ipak demokratska država, tako da ne vjerujem da bi baš to moglo da mu se dogodi, ali sve ovo što smo svedoci od korone, pa na ovom pokazuje izuzetno velike slabosti te nemačke demokratije, odnosno nemačke države, i za to postoji nekoliko razloga. Pre svega, previše su se oslanjali na Brisel, odnosno prepustili su deo svoje suverenosti Evropske unije, birokratije u Briselu, onda su previše se oslanjali na Sjedinjene Američke Države i njihov odbrambeni kišobran. Malo su vodili računa da razvijaju neke specifične svoje odnose sa partnerima u svetu. Znači, stalno su bili nekako na udaru Sjedinjenih Američkih Država i drugih saveznika, pa su morali da povlače poteze u korist svoje štete. Jer ako ste decenijama imali odlične ekonomske odnose sa Ruskom Federacijom i ako ste na tome gradili svoj ekonomski uspeh i postali jedno od najmoćnijih svetskih ekonomskih sila, onda je zaista glavno pitanje zašto ste sada odjednom tako olako prepustili da drugi vode tu ekonomsku politiku i dovode vas situaciju da morate da razmišljate kuda zapravo ide Nemačka i da li ona priča o državi blagostanja uopšte ima više realnog osnova.
A mislite li da Nemačka ide van NATO-a? Kako vam se čini ta priča i da li bi to stvarno bio kraj NATO-a ili sam ja u novinarskom maniru malo preterala?
Pa verovatno ne bi bio kraj NATO, zato što postoje neke druge države koje bi veoma rado ušle u NATO, ali one izlazi iz tog okvira Severnoatlantskog pakta, kako je ono tako, kako mu je zvanično ime. Mislim tu pre svega na Australiju, Novi Zeland, Japan i neke druge američke saveznike, ali Nemačka je zaista trenutno u situaciji da mora da vodi računa o postojanju američkih vojnih baza na njenoj teritoriji i to baza sa nuklearnim naoružanjem. Znači, međutim, nema samo Sjedinjene Američke Države, nemaju baze u Nemačkoj, ima i Velika Britanija. Znači, od onih sila pobednica nema samo Francuska vojnu bazu u Nemačkoj i nema bivši Sovjetski savez koji je nestao tako sa političke karte.
A mislite li?
Stvarno je situacija jako komplikovana. Znate, mislim, jedan od bivših predsjednika Sjedinjenih Američkih Država, mislim da je bio Clinton, kada je doputovao u posjetu Nemačkoj, sleteo na vojni deo aerodroma u Frankfurtu. I odatle imao jedno 115-20 km do Kaiserslauterna, do Ramsteina, gde je najveća američka vojna baza u Nemačkoj. I on se hvalio kako tim putem ide, tako, to je 120 km, ali nije napustio teritoriju Sjedinjenih Američkih Država. I to svakom Nemcu, ja mislim, koji je patriota i koji voli svoju otadžbinu, sigurno nije moglo da bude ni malo simpatično i ni prijatno.
Pa šta očekujete sad stvarno bez sve šale da uradi AFD kada bude došao na vlast? Kažu da je to pitanje trenutka.
A nije pitanje trenutka. Teško će, mi smo ovdje vi pričali, ja mislim da to neće moći da se ostvari.
A vi rekao ste pre 10 godina ne biste verovali ni da može politika prema Kosovu da se promeni, pa se promenila. Vidite kako se stvari brzo menjaju.
Ali znate kako, Nemačka ima tu neku ipak tradiciju posle Drugog svjetskog rata, naučili su neke velike lekcije i u ovom trenutku ja što vidim to je da će čak i ako AFD bude najmoćnija stranka na nekim narednim izborima, da li će biti vanredni ili redovni za godinu dana, svi drugi će se udružiti protiv njih i napraviti koaliciju samo da oni ne dođu na vlast. Znači, oni imaju nešto što privlači birače, oni su u velikom usponu. Uostalom i vaš sagovornik je rekao da u septembru su izbori u 3 važne istočno-nemačke pokrajine, Saksonija, Tiringija i Brandenburg. Svuda su u odličnoj poziciji, znači imaju možda i više od 20, već sada više od 20 do 25% birača koji bi za njih glasali. Ove druge stranke, osim demohrišćana, ne mogu da im se ni na puškometru bi rekao približe. Tako da, ali ako CDU, CSU bude najmoćnija stranka, oni će opet praviti koaliciju sa socijaldemokratima i sa zelenima, bez obzira koliko god oni budu slabi i koliko će imati malo osvojenih procenata glasova.
A jel vas čudi što Srbi glasaju za AFD?
Pa glasaju zbog toga što vide u ovim drugim starim strankama, vide neprijatelje Srbije, vide zlikovce koji su bombardovali njihovu otadžbinu, koji pokušavaju da otmu deo njene teritorije i na svaki način pokušavaju da spreče da Srbija vodi računa o Srbima gde oni živeli. Tako da to je veoma jednostavno. Znači, AFD je stranka koja ruši stare principe delovanja i stare postulate u Nemačkoj postojanju, na primjer, 2 velike stranke, pa su se pojavili onda zeleni i pokvarili tu tradicionalnu sliku, ali zeleni su potpuno izgubili, ja mislim, ne samo podršku naroda, nego i politički apsolutno lutaju. Znate, ne možete da imate jednu stranku koja je spremna da zbog svojih programskih ciljeva žrtvuje interese svojih građana, pa da imate onu čuvenu izjavu njihove ministarke inostranih poslova da je baš briga šta misle nemački birači.
Da, to je upravo priča s kojom se Nemačka sada suočava. Sad ćemo o tome da razgovaramo u nastavku i sa Peterom Bistronom.
You have mentioned that NATO is actually keeping you safe from Russians now. You made actually...
And from North Korea.
And North Korea and Iran.
Axis of evil.
Yeah, of course. Always axis of evil.
Yeah.
Always the same language. But can actually Germany decide now for itself to withdraw from all this anti-Russian story? Or you're not sovereign enough to do that?
Oh, well...
Because it's obvious you don't have popular, it's not popular in your public, and still you're sending your troops even further east in Poland, if I'm not wrong, the Panzer Brigade, right?
Yeah. You know, the sovereignty begins in the head. So, of course, our chancellors are always sovereign and they have the power to decide whatever they want. But look on the previous chancellors whose career ended abruptly, you know, and what have they done before? And it looks like if you are doing steps outside of this transatlantic circle, your career is not prolonging very well. You know, that's how it works.
If you were Serbia, if you were a Serbian politician, would you impose the sanctions against Russia, having in mind, don't laugh, having in mind German experience with the consequences it had on the economy?
Of course I must laugh because it's a childish question. I mean...
Why?
Yeah, what should you respond? You know, you see the results. Germany did the sanctions. And the argument was, let's do sanctions against Russia, it will put Russia down, and the war will stop. So what happened? The war is continuing. Russia raised its weapon production. Russia is still selling oil, gas, everything. Gazprom had a record win in I think the last 20 years. Yeah, they have more than 40 billion profit. So obviously it didn't work on this end, but at the same time in Germany, companies are either collapsing because of the high energy prices or are leaving the country, like BASF, 30,000 employees, they're leaving to China, other companies leaving to the US. Well, so we are losing, our people have to pay high prices, our people are losing their jobs, our industry is going outside, so Was it in the German interest? Of course, no. And I don't need to advise any other country how it should behave, because everybody who has his eyes in the head, he can see it, what the results are, and he can make his own decisions.
So what's actually going on in Germany right now? We saw these protests and it looks pretty dramatic. But how is the day-to-day, everyday life looks like? People here actually don't believe when we say that the standard of living has dropped in Germany. How it actually looks for an ordinary German?
Now, well, firstly, the protests are massive. It started with agriculture, yeah, but a lot of other groups emphasize with them and are now participating in those protests. So it's really countrywide. Mm-hmm. It's not only about small tax changes, but it started. The first reason was that the government was saying, like, we are cutting some subventions for agriculture. And they said, no, we are not going to accept it. But the protest is so big because the people, many people are really hating the government. Why? Because the government is doing things constantly against their own people, against own voters. The Greens, they come to power with the promise, no weapons into region of conflicts. This was posters in the elections. Immediately after the election, they said, oh, we support the war in the Ukraine. We support them, we will give them weapons, we will pay for it, This government is giving more than 60 billions a year in more than 100 countries in the world. This government is paying 50 billions a year for migrants which are in Germany. And the same government says, oh, we don't have some few millions for our agriculture. This disproportion is terrible. So the people are saying, okay, you have money for everything in the whole world, but not for us, not for our people. This is the reason why they demonstrate. This is the reason why they're upset every day. The most astonishing thing in abroad, what the people don't know about Germany, and they are always very surprised, is when we show them the facts how the opposition in Germany is oppressed. People don't know it.
Really?
People don't know that the people are beaten quite to death. Even my colleague was beaten nearly to death. Opposition leaders, even not organized in political parties. There's Michael Ballweg, a very good example. It's a really actual example. He was organizing demonstrations in the Corona time. As the head of this organization, they put him in jail for 9 months. 9 months to jail without a trial. So he was not charged by a court, but he was in jail. And afterwards they said, oh, sorry, the accusation were not right, you can go. But it was after the 9 months, so the demonstration ended, So this is how... We
here think that you're like a symbol of freedom.
Yeah, sure, but the truth is completely different. Look, we have been the biggest opposition party in the parliament, and we did not get the chair of the vice president of the parliament, which is legally belong to us. We should have it. Position in the parliament. We don't have it. We don't get another position.
And what was like the explanation? Why didn't you get it?
They change. They say, okay, we don't want to give it to the AFD because they are...
And that's it, because they are right-wing
exactly.
extremists.
The leftists, they decide that we are too right, and they will not give us the positions in the parliament which belong to us.
Do you think that the new world order is going to be established soon, or how do you see the world changing in the next 2 years?
The paradigm change already happened. And you can even fix it to one date.
Which one?
It was beginning of 2022 when China and Russia signed an agreement about cooperation. And they clearly declared three things. China said, okay, Russia has its interest in Europe, we respect that. Russia said, we respect that China has their interests in Asia. And they both agreed on that the traitor of those interests is the USA. And this is quite clear, especially taking into consideration that Chinese foreign policy was always very polite, very careful. And this is a very clear statement. Naming the USA as an enemy, it's clear. And second is practical. You see it on the Ukrainian war. You know, the Western countries were trying to destroy Russia, to put it down with sanctions, and they are now seeing that the sanctions are not working. They are useless. On contrary, they are hitting the West because countries like China, India, Brazil, they are connected with Russia and BRICS, and there are many other countries that are still doing business with Russia, supporting and trading oil, selling them microchips. You know, we had this funny, very funny momentum in European Parliament when Mrs. von der Leyen was holding a speech like, Russia is losing this war. They are putting microchips from washing machines and dryers for their rockets. They have nothing, you know. And a few months later, the Russians started a rocket, you know,
with those microchips for
exactly,
the washing machines.
from the microchips from our washing machines. Sure. Yeah. No, you see that they can substitute all the products from other productions, from Asian productions. They can export their goods. So this is fact, matter of fact. And you see that many countries, even in Africa and Foreign East, then they recognized that the monopolar world is, it ended. That the USA are not the only superpower in the world, that there are alternatives, that the Chinese are strong enough to support them. So you can see it on international conferences, you can see it in daily business. So that they are moving, they applying for joining BRICS, and so on and so on. So we are facing, in fact, a multipolar world. And this will be a very interesting development, especially for a country like Serbia, which has the tradition of Yugoslavia, of Tito's Yugoslavia, of independent countries, you know, not belonging to one of the blocks and trying to be sovereign in between those blocks.
So it's going to be easier for countries like Serbia, smaller and still independent in the new world?
For sure. I think this is, in any case, because you have the choice now. And you can see it even about the discussion about taking back the recognition of Kosovo. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it would be absolutely unbelievable to discuss this topic because everybody was going one-way street, yeah, Kosovo into the European Union enlargement, blah, 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 you know.
So no need to rush to EU now. What do you think?
Do whatever you want. If you think that it's a good idea to join the EU, do it. But
there is life beside the EU.
But there are alternatives. You see that even members of the EU already left because they said, no, it's not in favor of us. You see the huge problems that the EU has internally. So, in my opinion, it's like a sinking ship. It's like a Titanic. Of course, you can buy a ticket for the Titanic. You are heartily invited. You will get some bread and some champagne. But
if you're suicidal, it's okay. But what do you think in the foreseeable future? Is it going to be possible for Serbia to have a full sovereignty over the whole territory of Kosovo in the context of this changing world?
No. It's really a long process. You see that it's now 24, 25 years, you know, and it went in the one direction, so you have to be patient. It's a politics of very small steps, and now it went to the other direction, but it will take maybe other 25 years. You need a long breath.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen.
But the Serbs had a really good experience in this. Look at your history. You have been fighting against the Turks. You have been under Turkish occupation for many hundred years, and you still survive. You are a very strong nation, and in this tradition you should continue.
Mr. Bistron, thank you very much for this interview.
Hvala vam za sve.
Hvala. Nadam se da ćemo sledeći raditi na srpskom.
Doviđenja.
Doviđenja.
Ne znam gde je naučio srpski, ali ne idem u loše. Ja sam htela, Jadranka, da pitam gore tvog gosta na galeriji, gospodina Rakića, nešto. Jeste gore? Jeste gledali intervju?
Gledao sam.
Dobro. Gospodine Rakiću, kako vam se čini ovo poređenje Evropske unije sa Titanikom?
Pa veoma simpatično, znate, još ako bude svirala ona ista muzika, mislim kao kad je Titanik tonuo, navodno, to smo vidjeli tako u finskoj verziji. Šalim se, naravno, Titanik je ipak mnogo brže potonuo nego što bi Evropska unija mogla da nestane, ali sve što se događa posljednjih 10 godina ide u prilog razmišljenju da zaista nisam siguran koliko je moguće da Evropska unija u ovom obliku opstane, odnosno nije samo pitanje da li će opstati, nego i kako će izgledati ta neka nova evropska integracija i da li će biti zaista interes Srbije kao suverene nezavisne države da se priključi tako nekoj manjoj Evropskoj uniji, ako mogu tako da je uslovno nazovem.
Dobro. Da li vam se čini da u Nemačkoj polako shvataju da je uvođenje sankcija Rusiji bila greška?
Pa oni od izbijanja pandemije shvataju da su uradili mnogo grešaka u svojoj politici i pre svega previše su nekih državnih obaveza i državne vlasti preneli na Brisel. To se pokazalo kao apsolutno pogrešno. Znate, bili smo svjedoci velikog haosa koji je vladao u Nemačkoj u vreme korone, a ovo što se sad događa, odnosno posljedice sankcija uvedenih Ruskoj federaciji, to više nije pitanje razumevanja. To je nešto što se vidi u svakodnevnom životu, što se vidi na terenu. Dakle, Nemačka trenutno nije dobro mesto za biznis, ako mogu tako da kažem. I postavlja se pitanje da li je neko previdao takav mogući scenarij kada su uvodili sankcije Rusije ili je namerno to urađeno. Ja sam sve više zagovornik ovoga drugoga, da mislim da je to namerno urađeno. Znate, Sjedinjene Američke Države su decenijama otimale po svetu od siromašnih prirodno bogatstva pre svega, mislim, tako, da li je to nafta, gas, rudna bogatstva, a onda su valjda u jednom trenutku shvatili da je to jedan onako proces koji je nepotrebno dugačak i da treba da uzmu novac od onih koji ih imaju, a imaju ih bogati Evropljani. Tako da mislim da je to bio glavni cilj, da se uzme novac od bogatih članica Evropske unije.
Kako će se rešiti kriza u Nemačkoj?
Pa dobro, Nemci su tu veoma pragmatični. Znate, na posljednjim izborima kad je bilo jasno da će biti teško formirati vladu i onda su razmatrali da li je bolja opcija da se ide na nove izbore, na ponovne izbore i prevladalo uverenje da oni ništa ne bi značajnije promenili, bio samo gubitak vremena i onda su kao veliki pragmatisti tako napravili tu tročlanu koaliciju koja je apsolutno ideološki nespojiva. Ali su je napravili i to tako traje i ono što je apsolutno sigurno to je da će izbori promeniti sigurno političku sliku Nemačke. Da li će, kažem, oni biti prevremeni ove godine ili će biti u redovnom terminu sljedeće godine, apsolutno nebitno. Vreme radi za alternativu za Nemačku. Kažem, ako je ne budu nekim zakonskim sredstvima onemogućili da uopšte se pojave na izborima, nešto slično što se događa gospodinu Trumpu u Sjedinjenim Američkim Državama, kad ne može politički da ga pobediš ti, onda koristiš sva sredstva da ga sprečiš da uopšte učestvuje u nekoj parlamentarnoj ili predsjedničkoj trci. Tako da očekujem da će se stvar razrešiti na pravi nemački način, odnosno da ćemo dobiti neku novu nemačku vladu koja će više voditi računa o nemačkim interesima, o nemačkom suverenitetu i da u tom kontekstu će možda biti, u stvari siguran sam da će biti mnogo povoljnija situacija za Srbiju.
Hvala vam što ste bili gosti.
Hvala i vama na pozivu.